Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
Since we've met, and all because of her insecurities about my ex-wife from Brazil. Even though she was the one that brought the topic up, she went totally ballistic. I should have seen the warning signs flashing that she was about to explode.
Yeah, it could be argued that the warning signs have always been there. And, you know, I've been reacting to them in terms of what we've seen on camera. But again, it just seemed like it was playful. And it seemed like, because she recovered quickly, she seemed, when in between the blow-ups, to be flexible and caring and loving. They had chemistry. So, but I don't know, maybe she'll recover. Hopefully she will, for the two of their relationship's sake.
So what's going on?
I'm sad, Gino. I'm very sad.
Okay, so we know that there are certain markers that will lead to a greater likelihood of resolution to a conflict if you do certain things. And so, one, she approached him, which is good. He asked an open-ended question, how you doing, essentially. And then she says, I'm sad. So everything's going really well so far. The principles we want to follow is ownership of our feelings, don't be hostile, don't be accusatory, and monitor your distress level. If you start to get too distressed, too triggered, you want to slow down, maybe separate. So let's see how they do.
You live in the past. You know what I mean?
So there you go, accusation. You live in the past. Meaning, I'm still convinced that you're completely to blame. All my problems are your fault. And I'm going to make this blanket statement. You live in the past. What does that even mean? He's still connected to his exes, or he doesn't want to be hostile towards his exes. He doesn't want people ridiculing them. Just because if there was something to ridicule, then fine. But she was ridiculing the two of them for having chosen a particular decor in the house. So why, and he's just like, look, you don't have to use that tone. We don't have to attack her just because I don't know. I kind of like those colors. Something to think about sometimes when watching the show, and if you're a clinician, you want to do this as well, is think about if you were in her shoes. Okay. Just imagine you're Jasmine and your new partner has a past relationship and is still friends with that person, or at least doesn't hate that person. And you're a little insecure about that. And when you see their house, you say, oh, I bet you anything that was her influence. And just imagine what you would do, okay? What you would say, how you would approach it. Would you approach it this way? And given his response, would you react this way? And it's just, and I think it's frequently a theme or a mode of reacting for me when I'm watching the show is, there's a big difference between your preference or your request and the place that you take it in terms of your tone or your emotionality or your interpretation. Like I've been saying from the beginning, it's fine if she wants to change the decor in the house. He doesn't have to oblige. I mean, he could say like, well, it's a 50-50, let's talk about it. But she can make that request. She can make the request of, can you tell me that you love me and you don't love her anymore? Can you maybe limit your conversations with her because that makes me feel bad? There's requests, and then there's where you actually take it, which we can see a contrast with her. So anyway, she's starting off with an accusation. His ability to read between the lines is pretty limited. So if he were able to read between the lines, he would have thought about it maybe beforehand while they were separated and say like, he would let that go past him in terms of that. You live in the past. He would say, well, I'm not going to respond to that. And he would say, honey, I just want to reassure you, I love you. I don't want to be with her. And if you want to change the house, let's do it. Let's talk about it together. But I don't want you to demand and command me and make fun of her. She's a good person. I don't like her anymore, but because I'm with you. And even before I met you, I wasn't with her anymore. We broke up for legit reasons. There's a reason why we broke up. So, if you want to change things in the house, great. let's work on that together, though. But I need you to be nicer to me when you're talking. I'd like it if you were nicer to me. I'd like it if you didn't accuse. I don't want you to attack her. She's a good person. It just didn't work out between us. But do not feel threatened by her. I just hit my guitar. That's not in tune. Anyway, let's watch it.
You know what I mean, Gino? Your house full of it, your life full of it.
I've been hurt before profoundly, and because of that, I feel very vulnerable when it comes to relationships.
Great. That's great. I'm guessing Gino would be okay if you said something like that. It's where you took it. So ownership of feelings. Let's see what she says.
And even though I portray myself like this super high self-esteem, confident woman, deep inside, I'm just like a scared animal.
Great. So in the one-on-one interviews, they're often way more differentiated. I think the one-on-one interview happens months later, by the way, so she might have had time to reflect. But anyway, that's promising that she has that capability. Let's see if she can translate it into this conversation here. I think he's actually hurt himself and worried and maybe giving a little bit of a passive-aggressive silent treatment-ish, or at least his demeanor.
I don't want my heart to be broken again.
Yeah, but again, just think about the facts that we have available. He's totally in love with her. He's traveling down there. He says he wants to spend time with her. He wants to maybe spend the rest of his life with her. And she attacked him for the colors in his house, and that's how we got here. It wasn't like she found a text on his phone or she found out he cheated on her. It was the colors that he and his ex decided to decorate their house with, and she said it in a very insulting manner, and all he said was, "You don't have to take that tone."
We should slow down, just like stop talking about kids, stop talking about moving to the United States. You can go back hunting on your website.
So I thought that was starting out rational. On one hand, I thought, yeah, you should slow down. A lot of the couples on this show should slow down. That's fine. But then she ended it with, you should go back to hunting so a hostile statement. Again, how did we get here? It started with her initiating a conversation like, you need to, and it was interesting because it followed her saying, I need you to obey me and you're going to pay for this trip because you need to prove to me that you love me and that you can obey me. And then he says, okay, fine. And then she's like, good, obedient, good boy. And then she followed it up with, I need you to change everything in your house. And she's a B word. Yeah, she's a B word, but that kind of intimation. And he responded of like, you don't need to take that tone with me. It's just my preference. It's my opinion. And now we're here.
Find another stupid woman like me.
So again, I think he's hurt. I think he's scared. He's giving a bit of a passive-aggressive silent treatment, or he's in high distress and panicking. He doesn't know what to do. So as I've been saying from the beginning, he's not helping. He could do so many things to cause things to go a different way. His lack of response is, I think, additionally triggering to her. Now, in my view, this is just my opinion, he's not required to do that given what she's been doing to him this whole time, but he's not helping. And unless he changes, if neither of them change, it's just going to continue going down this road. So one of them has to change. It'd be nice if both of them changed.
Definitely the most sensitive girl that I've ever been with. No, I don't like the colors on walls. Okay, we're good. That's how I'm supposed to answer. No, I don't like the colors on the wall. And then the whole is never would have blown up in the first place.
He looks like he's kind of tearing up a little bit. So there's that. But yeah, he recognizes that. Now, I would hope he would also be able to say, I think what was happening was she feels threatened, and I think she was looking passively for some sort of indication that I didn't love that person anymore. And I just didn't detect that and didn't address that.
bond to these people is still tangible. And tomorrow I'm leaving. Instead of being sad, I'm happy and relieved.
And then if you're Gino, you have to say, wow, all this over that. And now she's saying she wants to break up. So it's one thing to get upset. It's another thing to say, for her to be saying it's over. And I haven't said anything. I've just been sitting here trying to be nice and not escalate the situation. And now she's to a point where she's like, we're done. And you need to hunt for women. So you got to wonder if you're in his shoes, like, this doesn't bode well for the future. Now, the way they resolve this will tell us a lot about what likely will happen in their relationship. If she can be differentiated and take responsibility, at least for part of it, then we're looking at a better prognosis. But if she can take no responsibility and not apologize and not recognize in the one-on-one interview, which we assume happens months later, she's able to own the feeling. Whether or not she can own that the behavior was unjustified, I don't know. Or if he apologizes and says, basically becomes submissive to her, then that has a prognosis of locking in that dynamic of abuse.
What can we do to get through this?
It's too late. I'm not important in your life. Why there will be any hope?
So that's how she feels. That's not from my perspective. Of course, I have this tiny little sliver of the data available, but for her, it feels that way. This is hopeless. You betrayed me. You are still in love with that woman. You never loved me. That black or white thinking.
I'm gonna work this out with you. Let's work it out. I'm not the one saying I'm gonna leave like you are. I want to talk about what it is that we have to do to work this out.
Don't tell me about trips that you took. You're not allowed to say anything good about your exes.
Yikes. Big time yikes. Now, we understand that when we think of an abusive couple, the quintessential abusive heterosexual couple, we think of a man perpetrator, right? Male perpetrator. So sometimes it's really hard for us to see abuse when it is the woman perpetrator. But just imagine, in our minds, we switch the genders. And it's not exactly an analogy, but it does help to give us some perspective. So if we had a man that came to a woman and said, without any provocation, said, good girl, you will obey me. I need you to be obedient to me. Good girl. She has repeatedly said, good boy, when he obeys her. So imagine a man saying, good girl, obey me. And then when there's some minor indication of a connection, so the woman had lived with her ex in the house, and the guy, the abusive person, didn't like that and said, you will change that. And she's like, well, I don't know, I kind of like the way I decorated my house. No, you will change it. And flips out and gets angry and walks off and says, go back to your website, and says all these really nasty things, hostile things, and then says, you will not have communication with that person anymore. That is over. Now, some people will say, well, and culturally speaking, for some people, it's like really strange to be in contact with an ex-partner. Okay, but again, it's that when we look at all the data of obedience, talking down to, dehumanization, demeaning, even consciously saying, you will do this. This isn't a conversation. I'm telling you what to do.
Ever. They don't exist to you. Or I'm gonna get crazy and things are gonna get very bad.
Wow, okay. So if you were to teach a class on domestic violence, intimate partner violence, I'm not saying that's what's happening here because I can never really know. The whole thing could be fake. So I have no idea. But if you were to teach a class on intimate partner violence, you would watch a clip like this, because that is a quintessential thing that abusive people will say. They will say, you will do this or I'm going to get angry and things are going to get real bad for you. She doesn't say for you, but that's the implication. You will do this or I'm going to get angry and things are going to get bad. It gives me chills to think about the amount of times that I've worked with people like this, perpetrator. I've worked with a lot of perpetrators and a lot of victims who report statements like this, or sometimes it even happens on my couch. So it's just the playbook of an intimate partner violence individual perpetrator.
Yes or no?
Yes. It's the only thing that matters to me is us. I want to be with you. I want marriage and having a baby like we talked about.
So he sees it that he can say this, that he will obey, that he will give in, that he will reward the abusive behavior. And this doesn't bode well, doesn't predict good things in the future. And you see her face. Now, if after this she can, upon getting some demonstration that she might be in a secure relationship, can say, I'm sorry for where I went with that, and really take ownership of it. She's kind of said, like, I'm the crazy one. Actually, I'm remembering other things that she did, right? She was abusive, physically assaultive to her hairstylist. She talked about that. So this is upsetting to watch, honestly.
And if I lie to you a little bit? Because,
Because what?
I've been taking birth control pills. I've been taking them.
Oh, right. I forgot about this storyline. So they've been talking about trying to get pregnant during this trip down to Panama. And for him, he wanted to get pregnant right away. For her, she didn't want to. She wanted to maybe in a bit, which I think a lot of people can relate to Jasmine in the situation and feel like Gino is strange. That doesn't mean Gino's wrong. They both had a preference. He wants to get pregnant right away. Totally fine. She does not. The difference is she lied about it. It's not that she shouldn't have done that. She should have told him, which we would find to be reasonable, right? To say, hey, pal, I really like you. I think I want to marry you. I think I want to have kids with you, but I don't know yet, or I don't want to have kids right now, maybe next year. I don't know, whatever. So I'm going to be on the pill when you come down. We would say that would be reasonable. So they're both reasonable. They're both fine. They can have their preference. The problem is the lies. And so let's see. But she's admitting it.
Yeah, why did you start taking them? I guess I don't understand.
Baby, this is just your first trip. This is the first time we've met.
Do you really, how do you feel now? Do you think you really need them?
We are not making a family right now. We are not ready, not even close.
Which is totally reasonable. A more mature, differentiated way of saying that is, I don't want to have kids right now. You're hearing me talk about this sometimes. When we don't feel confident in our own preferences, we will triangulate. She says, we aren't ready to have a family right now. Again, I think most people would agree with her on that evaluation, but really, it's a preference. Some people have kids earlier than later, so it's fine. But, is it fine? I don't know, that's debatable. But for her, she could say, if we're really splitting hairs here, she would say something like, I am not ready to have kids. I realize you want to have kids right away. You feel like we're ready, but I don't feel like I'm ready. So there's that. Now let's see how he reacts, because I think this is the first time we've really seen him challenged in this way.
It's disappointing to know that she was keeping the secret from me for a while, because we both agreed that if she got pregnant on this trip, it would be a good thing.
Okay, so there's some data. It sounds like they had at least one, if not multiple conversations in which she said that she also wanted to have kids right away. And so we don't know, but let's imagine a situation. They're talking over video chat, and they're both saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm coming down there. Hey, let's get pregnant. Let's do it. Let's get this ball rolling." And they're both having that celebration around that. And then he comes to Panama and wants to do a lot of things there, get to know her, this kind of thing. But also there's a part of him that's like, oh, maybe we can get pregnant. We can get our family moving really fast. Now, you would think he would have some hesitancy given what's been happening, but then, so you've had that narrative as a theme. And I mean, imagine making that commitment, like, yeah, we're going to get pregnant. And we've been talking about it. And then to learn, oh, you've been deceiving me this whole time. It's not that you took the pills, it's that you didn't tell me in advance.
Of her that worries me a little bit. I'm happy that we can, talk through these issues and get through this. But I just hope that that I don't see that side of her again.
I think you are going to see that side of her again. The chance of that being a one-time thing is pretty small. It's possible, though. It's also possible that they're able to have conversations after this that will better prepare them for future events like this, but that doesn't usually happen on this show. All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.